Alright, Halloween Havoc. Oh, if I sneeze or cough, I got a little bit of a cold. As you can see, I'm wearing something warm. There's no heat in my building yet, not until November 1st, so I gotta bear it. Anyway, we had 6 matches on this show. And honestly, we had some turnovers. More than you would expect. And you wonder, and I think this might be the title of the video, a lot more questions than answers. Now, that's not a bad thing. Let's make this very clear. Having questions sometimes can be a good thing because you want to start thinking about what could be really good about it. But it also can be a double-edged sword because you can go, why the hell did they make that decision? I'm being honest here. Why? First match, which was let me give it to you like this. It was botchy. I've seen Devon Evans. I've seen Leon Slater. They don't really botch often. Doesn't mean they botch a lot, but they don't botch often. They're highlight reels. They're always going to be possible to botch. But you had El Paca and Mr. Iguana in that match. It was set up this NXT. It felt rushed. NXT, it didn't even have a week to breathe or 2 weeks before we get Halloween Havoc. So it felt rushed. I'm sorry. That's just the deal. They just wanted to put someone from AAA on the show. And for me personally, I don't like that. I'm sorry. Yes, this is developmental. Yes, these are 2 guys that are still young OG and the young in charge. Yes, I know. They're still very young. They're both 21. I know. But if you're going to do something where people are going to have to pay this, even if it's a subscription, you should at least try to make it look good. And we can get that. We got it rushed. And then the match itself. Now, Mr. Iguana is very popular. Let's make it very clear. I've only seen him a couple of times. He's very unique. That is his, next to painting his face green, that is his stick, along with the puppet iguana. El Paca, I've seen over the years, but with different people, I believe. This isn't the same Paca that was many years ago when I think I saw him back in, 2010? I think it might be someone different, I think. But if you're going to look at the AAA stars, I don't care. Again, and I'm going to keep saying it, AAA is not a promotion anymore. It's nothing. It's just an extension of NXT. And because an extension of NXT, it doesn't feel important. It doesn't. And that does not take anything away from all the people on AAA who bust their ass to try and sell it in Mexico. That's not what I'm saying. I want to make this clear to anyone. This is not about how hard they work in Mexico to make AAA mean something, because WWE wouldn't have bought them if they weren't important. But now they're not important because they've been bought out. And more than that, they've had 2 shows that's supposed to be aired in America, and they were not PLEs. I'll say it again. They were not PLEs. They were just thrown on YouTube. Worlds Collide was on YouTube. Wouldn't it have been better to have it as a pay-per-view? It should have been a pay-per-view. It should have been a PLE. A premium live event. It was not. What am I saying wrong? Because that's what it is. So seeing El Paca and Miss Iguana was just something that's supposed to make it funny. Because that's what the match was. It was all about joking around and being funny to more than it was the in-ring action. That's what we got. We got more joking around with Mr. Iguana's puppet than we did about wrestling. And yes, you're going to say, dude, there was some good wrestling. When it wasn't botchy, yes. But this wasn't about the wrestling. This was about to show off members of AAA, but they're jokes. How much dancing was El Paca doing? How much Mr. Iguana was doing? And pulling his shirt open, get smacked in the chest and acting stupid. And why did the ref allow Mr. Iguana's puppet iguana to be used to hit people? It's meant to be a joke. I'm sorry. Even if they do the same stick in Mexico in AAA, you would want to do a more better, how can I say this? This is one of the few times you're going to see AAA on NXT TV at a PLE. They're not going to do it often. I don't believe so. I just don't believe, unless they're bringing people from AAA to the main roster of NXT where they're going to be busting their ass, they're just going to be jokes, and they're going to be not very frequent. But at least you want to make them look good. And we didn't get that. That's just me. Of course, Slater managed to get the pin on the one that was most liked there. Mr. Iguana does not tell you that they're not really important. It's not the point. Alpaca is a better wrestler, and they didn't want to try and protect him because he is a better wrestler. Mr. Iguana, not saying he can't wrestle, just felt more like he's more of a gimmick thing than he is a wrestler. But Alpaca being able to wrestle better than him doesn't change the fact that they wanted to pin the one that you see I'm botching here. You see I'm botching here because I don't care about AAA, but I do care about the wrestlers getting at least seen correctly. And Mr. Iguana, who was very popular, people were cheering for him next to Devon Evans and Leon Slater, yes, should have at least not need to eat the pin. You could have let Alpaca win. Well, basically, Alpaca could have taken it, but no, there you go. Sorry, I botched you because it pissed me off. Okay, next match. First of the matches that is a title match. And I'm sorry, if anybody thinks that this match was wrong, you're in the same camp as me. Because you're having a match that is the Day of the Dead match. And it should not be for the North American Championship. It should be for the North American Championship and the Latin American Championship. If you're going to if you're developing Dr. Wagner Jr., maybe more over in AAA, and then try to see if he's pretty good here. This because this is his chance to show that he's more than just a name. Because not everyone's going to know who he is. I don't know who he is. I don't know if this is his father's job of Dr. Wagner, and now it's Dr. Wagner Jr., which is his son, that might have done the same thing. But the point here is this. You're trying to develop his name. It would have made it feel more important if not just the North American title was done, but also the Latin American Championship, because let's make it very clear. Ethan Page is right. He had his chance in AAA, and it was taken away from Wagner Jr. And this should be title versus title. Whoever wins gets both titles, and this would have been good for Ethan Page because, well, technically it would have been good for NXT. If you're trying to make a better connection between what's going on in AAA and NXT, you really needed to have title for title. And even though Wagner Jr. would have jobbed, but it would have been better for AAA to have one of the NXT wrestlers there as a champ to show that, look, there's an actual collaboration here. They're owned. Let's make it very clear. Look, I'm not saying that Mexicans over there are dumb. They're not. But the way they're probably spotlighting in Mexico is that, yes, they were bought by WWE, but they're probably going to say, we're going to collaborate. It's going to be great. Well, prove it by letting one of their more better, stronger stars go over there and hold a damn title for a couple of months to make it mean something. But no, it's only one way. Wagner going after North American Championship. And honestly, it was a good, it just seemed like a more of a street fight than anything else, or no holds bar, or no anything goes type of match. Seeing Wagner Jr.'s mask ripped was, here's the thing, we see that a lot in American pro wrestling. I don't know how much they do it in Mexican, I don't think they do it as often as they do here in America. Because if you look at AEW, you look at WWE, they have a tendency most of the time to try and take masks off mass wrestlers. Technicos, I believe that's what they call it. And honestly, I think it's overdone a lot. That they're always trying to rip the mask off of a pro wrestler that's from Mexico as an American gimmick. because I don't think it's necessary. Let them wrestle as they are. And I just don't like it. Not that I'm more into Lucha Libre, it's just that they've done it so much in America, and I don't know how heavily they do it in Mexico. I don't think they do. I think it's very rare for them to have masks rip off their faces, or very rare that it's mask versus mask match. But here it just feels overdone. Now, was the match bad? No. But in the end, we get a cutter from Ethan Page onto a table, and that's how he wins. And I really wish the Latin American Championship was up for grabs. And I truly believe that would have been a good thing for AAA, that they have someone who's going from NXT to AAA and back. And hell, you could do the Latin American Championship there in NXT. At least then you could have a bridge that could help people from AAA to come in, and you can say, and this is NXT, we are now going to be spotlighting the Latin American Championship here once a month. And it's going to be the Latin American Challenge once a month. Whoever holds that title will come to NXT and defend it. That would have been easy. And that could have helped AAA more to see that there are wrestlers there that people, I know they know Ethan Page there. I'm sure of it. He's probably worked in Mexico. It would have made sense, but here you go. Next match, the Women's North American Championship. This is confusing. Soruka could not defend it because there's something wrong with her knee. You have Zarya, who's going to do it on behalf of her against Blake Monroe. Here's the thing. I look at this, and I'm thinking, why didn't they make this an actual championship match where Zarya could actually get the damn title herself? I think it would have been better that way. I think it would have been better that when they had that segment on this NXT where Zarya said she's going to defend it for Soul, that Ava said, Zarya, I know you want to do this, but I can't do that. I can't. Soul, you got to relinquish it. And then Soul says, wait, why don't you have a championship match where it's Zarya versus Blake Monroe? At least then you know it'll be fair. We don't have to do a tournament. Let her do it. I think that would have been better than doing it the way they did on behalf. Because as you saw the match, which wasn't a bad match, but here's the thing. Having Soul out there and Zarya getting really worried once, of course she did it. Of course she did it on purpose. She tripped up Soul on purpose to distract Zarya, which worked. That's how she won. But now here's the big question. This is a big question that needs to finally be answered. We know what's going to happen with Blake. This is not about her. This is not about Blake. Yes, they're going to build Blake up as the North American champion. It'll be fine. This is about Zarya and Soruka's story. As I told you nearly a year ago. Oh no, more than a year ago at this point. A year and a couple of months. Since Zarya and Soruka have been paired together. Since Zarya even came to NXT. And then she was paired with Soruka. She's been the only one compared to Stephanie Bakir and Julia that's actually had any character development. Because look what happened. You got Stephanie that's on the main roster. You see I'm botching here. I'm like, you didn't build anything for Stephanie Bakir. She has no character. Only now they're trying to develop her character. Then you got Julia, who's had no character until she started working with Kiana James. And now you look at Soruka, who's the only one that actually had some development with somebody in a tag team. The question's going to be, are they going to finally pull the trigger and have Soruka attack Zarya? Or, which I think will happen, Zarya will eventually attack Soruka. Because that's what I think it's going to come down to. When you look at Soul, my feeling is this. Soul could turn on Zarya for losing her title because she didn't do enough. And then that would start the problem between the two, where eventually Soul will turn on Zarya and Zarya will whoop that ass. Or, which I do believe is the more better option, that Zarya, who's been loyal to Soul, who's been her friend, who's busted her ass, but does act standoffish because now that she's lost the title, Soul's going to be upset about it, and Zarya's going to do everything she can to make it right, but it never seems to be right, and Zarya just gets so pissed at this, she basically beats the shit out of Soul, and they have their feud. That is what I think might happen. Do I believe they should go there? Yes, because they've been developing this story for nearly a year now, and Zarya's been with the company for more than a year. It's needed. They need to do something with Zarya, they need to do something with Soul, and hopefully this will lead to them actually, excuse me, having their feud eventually. I don't expect it to be done in the next couple of weeks. I think maybe another month they may try to do this, but I do believe that's where they need to go. Next, the Women's Championship. Tatum Paxley versus JC James. Now, I know you're going to say, dude, I know you're not happy about this because you want to keep JC James as she was. Now, this is not true. I like JC James, and I love Tatum Paxley. I don't hate either one of them. But if you look at the story, I feel like Izzy Dane should have been the one to really have this option before. And then Tatum would have the option, and then you would see... it's a hard one because I feel like she should have not had this option now. I feel like she could have had it next year, and that you could have given this to Izzy and then build the story around Izzy that she is supposed to be the dominant driving force of the culling, but she couldn't get it done. And then as Tatum is developing more and more and more, you see that in this situation, Tatum finally gets so above Izzy Dane that she just shows her rage. And it's got to be, guess who? Sean Spears is going to try and talk her down, saying, calm down. You will have your moment. But as time goes on, she just gets angry and angry. And then when Tatum does win, she wipes her out, leaves the culling, let Tatum stay with them, and then she goes off on her own. That's what I think would have been better, but this is just my point of view of it. But do I believe the story has been bad? It feels rushed. I'm saying it right now. As much as Tatum Paxley has been developed, I still feel like it's rushed. Doesn't mean it's bad, it just feels rushed to me personally. And that part where you got the culling and Fatal Influence facing each other, fighting each other a little bit, and then both getting ejected until, of course, the culling comes back, and then you see Reed and Mafal and Henley jump on their backs and try to keep them out of the entire match. Fine. But then you see Izzy goes get the title. She's standing face to face with Tatum. She charges at Tatum, but she avoids, and then hits a JC James, wins the title, and now it's with the culling. But the big question is going to be, does this mean that Tatum is going to have her as a friend for much longer? Because Izzy, she did not look happy. She looked pissed, in shock and pissed. She didn't expect Tatum to win. This is going to be interesting this Tuesday. Next, the broken match. This is where I did not expect this. I didn't expect the Hardys to job here versus Dark State. I didn't expect it. I thought since they're letting the Hardys hold both titles, they would hold them for a couple of months easily, at least a month or two, past Bound for Glory. And then you can give them to Hank and Tank, or you can give them to Chase U, or to Out the Mud if you develop them. No. You give it right back to Dark State. And I'm like, why? It makes no sense to give them to Dark State. At least until we saw the segment with the young OG and the young in charge. And that's what I thought, okay, are they really going to go there? Are they really going there where they're going to let a team from one NXT and one TNA be in a team together and actually win the titles? That's what I thought. When you see Leon Slater talking with Devon Evans and talking about, hey, we still got business with Dark State. Let's see if we can get those damn titles and let's go. That's what I'm thinking. Because it makes the most sense at this point. Because if they do not win it, I'm going to make it clear. I'm going to say it now. Let's make it very clear. Dark State makes no sense. They don't feel important. The only time when they ever felt important was on TNA. That's the only time when they felt important. And they're done with that. They're finished. So all that's left is for them to job to Slater and to Evans. There's no other way to do it. Why would you keep the titles on a faction that feels like they can't get it done? Other than once in a while, they just don't feel important. If you give it to Leon Slater, if you give it to Devon Evans, it makes more better sense to let them have it and then run with it. And it'll show that legitimately NXT is really working with TNA, because you're going to have an NXT star who literally is going to be working with a TNA star, and they can go to both brands. They can go to TNA because Leon Slater, since he is X Division champion, you can have Devon Evans there with his title, and they can be challenged on TNA TV, well, Impact, and NXT TV. They can go back and forth, which will make it more interesting and dynamic. Because now you got two guys that are both brands, who are both holding a title in one of the brands. It'll make it more interesting. But that's if they win. Because if they do not win, if these boys don't win, it would be the most stupidest decision that Triple H would have made. And I'm being honest here. This would not be a Shawn Michaels decision. This will be a Triple H decision. And if Shawn is involved in it and he made the decision, that would be damn stupid. They should win it. Moving on to the final match. Ricky Saints versus Trick Willie. Now, I expected Ubafemi to show up, but he hasn't. So, my thoughts before Ubafemi was going to show up is that Ricky Saints was going to retain, because it made the best sense. Let him keep that damn title and then move Trick Williams away from it, because there's nothing more for him to do. Like I said, the only thing left for him to do is go into a tag team and become a tag team wrestler and win the damn titles. That's it. There's no other reason other than that. So, we have the match, which was good. Of course, we did get a little bit, I think it was on his right eyebrow, that when he got hammered into one of the turn posts, he did bleed. And that's Ricky Saints. But other than that, he seemed to be alright. He was still able to wrestle. And then he won. Trick Williams looked shocked. Speak no evil. Like, fuck, I can't say this because, well, I don't even know I'm on PLE. I can't say it like that. And we get the ending where, and the thing that gets me, seeing that one person did not like seeing a Ricky Saints win was good. Seeing that Booker T did not like Ricky Saints. He didn't like him at all. And in fact, when Trick William lost, he took off his damn mic, he took off his headphones, and he was pissed. Which is great, because it shows there is favoritism in commentary, which it should be sometimes. And I'm hoping that we get something between Booker T and Ricky Saints, that he will call Booker T to the ring, and he talks to him a little bit. And that really would be something interesting to see Booker T get out of his commentary position, go into the ring with a mic, and talk to Ricky Saints about what makes Ricky Saints Ricky Saints and what Booker T does not like. And let me give it to you like this. Was this a bad show? No, it's botchy, yeah. Some decisions were made. I'm not sure if they're going to be great. But there are other things that give us questions. And I think that's the title. Give us questions. Good questions. But this is just me, and I hope you enjoyed this Halloween Havoc 2025 review. Please give me a comment below. When I get a chance, I will try to make some recordings. Like I said, my throat's hurting. I want to sneeze my head off right now. I've actually been holding it in. I'll see if I can get them done as soon as possible. Peace.